Hi, this is Jim Campilongo, and today we're going to do Sunnyside of the Street. There were some questions that came in that were great, and this one's from Pete Meisner. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Basically, what are you thinking in general terms if, for example, if a singer just sang the melody and you were about to launch into a solo, maybe something like Sunnyside of the Street, using the melody, ? And Zach Miller, just abbreviate it, my question is about getting out of your own way when playing. I find when I play now, I'm thinking so much. And I get that. Good question, all of them. Pedro Beora or Bellora, again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, no disrespect. I would love to see and hear your charts. And he mentioned my compositions, but I thought I'd use On the Sunny Side of the Street as a example. Okay, so when I learn a standard, and I have some notes here. First thing, it's not the first thing, but if I'm going, I did this Park Avalon gig, right? It was by Union Square, it was a brunch. It was a while back when I was first in New York, and I think it was 10 a.m. to like 1 or something like that, 10 a.m. to 1, and at this Union Square restaurant. And it was kind of amazing because since it was 10 a.m. to 1 on a Sunday, it was like the who's who of jazz guitarists. I'm not saying I was one of them. I actually saw who was playing there, and it was, intimidating almost. And yet, I was told by the manager that my group was one of the few groups that people would applaud at the end of the tune, okay? Now, I'm not sharing that because I'm full of myself, but I would try to play songs that people knew, okay? For example, I would play Girl from Ipanema, and when we'd start playing it, and the table of 4 women who were ignoring us before would look over at us. We did take 5, and actually one of the bass players I used kind of complained about it, like it was too corny for him, but every time we'd play it, I'd see people turn around to look. And I did Alley Cat and some really corny stuff. I love that song. And I believed in every song too. That's the other thing, is you got to believe in it. But I would play tunes people could relate to. And some of the Berklee School repertoire, which is great, it gives you a great toolbox and teaches you about minor keys and all that stuff. Really aren't some of those types of songs. So my thing was, it was kind of simple and a little bit more for the people, and I highly recommend that. At least it's what I do. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's my advice. Okay, now, the other thing I do when I learn a standard is I try and make it easier, okay? And let's look at, I have 2 charts attached. This one is out of my real book, a really good real book I have. And it's, On the Sunny Side of the Street. Now, the first thing that I'm looking at is we have, okay, and we have this. B minor 7 flat 5. Now, I want to simplify that, and one thing I might do is the melody's E, and the chord, at least a common grip of it, has an F. So we have going on, or, which is pretty, you know, I'm not putting it down, but I might initially make it a regular 2/5. So it would be da, ba, si, da, 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 B minor 7, E7, and that's just easier for me because I could go, sorry. You know, technically you could do that over the B minor 7 flat 5 too, but you know, there's just, I feel like I have more options. And the other thing is it goes to F, okay? That sounds pretty good. You know, not nuts about it. Not nuts about it. So what I did and would do is get rid of the B minor altogether. Da ba da ba da 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 da. Sounds fine to me. Now again, and I've said this before, a 2/5 a lot of times is like a suspension. Okay, so if we look at B minor 7 to E7 with keeping the B in the bass. Kind of a sus, like, you know, like a Pete Townsend thing or something. So even when I think, I'll sometimes think of it as, in this case, if it's B minor 7 to E7, I'll think of it as E7 or think about a suspension. Now maybe that's beyond you right now. Then just think E7, okay? So we got da ba da ba da da da. Then we have F. I might play an F6. Da ba da 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 da. Okay, now we have G7, G sharp diminished 7, A7. Okay, which sounds really good. I like this book. It doesn't get too cute, but this G sharp diminished 7. If we look at it, it's very much like an E7 flat 9. Okay, so if we look at it like it's E, there's the major third, there's the sharp 9, there's the 5, there's the 7. And if we move one note, we just have a kind of a classic E7 with the third and the bass. Third, root, 5, 7. If we raise first finger, then we have what they're calling G sharp diminished 7. Okay, so there's only one note. So I might have thought, okay, I'll just go G7, E7, A minor, and justify it because E7 is the 5 of A minor. But no, I take it a step further. I just play and think G7, A minor. Okay, so I'll sing it. It sounds better if somebody's playing the melody, but it's, especially with my singing, but it's da 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 da. To me, that sounds fine, and we didn't have to worry about, you know, or some thing that we could play even if the person playing rhythm or the band isn't playing those chords. But that's what I would think. G7, A minor. So if it's in simple bar chords, it's like this. Da 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 da. That's probably a 7th, but you know, it didn't sound horrible. It's easy. Da ba da ba ba da. Maybe you gotta worry about this a little bit. This is F, da, 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 G, A minor. Easy schmeezy. Da, ba, da, ba, ba, I don't like this chord. Then we have D7, which we are going to play. That's the 2 chord, like, you know, the dominant 7th. It's actually a secondary dominant going to G7. And then we have a 2-5, and we don't have to play that. We could do, you know, just play G7, but that 2-5 sounds good there. So we have da ba da ba da E7, da da F da da G7, A minor 7, D7, da ba da 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 da. They have da ba da ba da da ba ba. And I think I adhered to that. But you could, for the first ending, you could just elongate things so that they're present longer, and you even have less thinking. So I threw out a bunch of chords, all right? Additionally, on the B section, they have some nice things going on where it says the square B. It's like, so we have dun, 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 dun. They have that, right? G minor 7, C7. I just, on my chart, and I might think a little bit more than this, but C7. Da, ba, da, 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 F major, da, ba, da. Sorry. Yeah, if my singing's horrible. Da, 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 D7, just straight D7. And then they have, but I would just think and write out, and I have my gym chart, I'll show in a sec. Da, 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 C7, F, da, ba, da, 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 D7, da, da, da. I might do a 2-5, da, 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 ba, da, ba, ba, da, 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 da. That's a little high for me, but da, ba, da, ba, da, ba, da, da. So it's a lot more just dominant chords. Okay, now one of the questions, I forget who I referenced at the beginning, I think it was, I can't find it. It was either Pete or Zach, Pete, and Stefan had another unrelated question I'll get to later. This is a gym chart, okay? And as I showed you, it says C. It doesn't say what kind of C. I might put C6 because I don't want a major 7 there. But sometimes the 6 looks like a flat. And so I just put C. And I would bring this to play with the best professionals that I know. Okay, so C, E7, F, G7, A minor 7, D7, then the 2-5 that could have just been G7, D minor 7, G7, and then a loud and clear first ending, which we're only allowed into the first time, C, G7, pushes us to the top. Now, then we go to the second ending. After repeating it, we skip the first ending. It says C, C7, just like I talked about. Now, it's C7, 2 bars, F 2 bars, D7, 2 bars, G7, 2 bars. It's like You're Cheating Hard by Hank Williams. I mean, it's with that kind of simplicity. C, E7, and I have an ending that's super easy, and everything's really big in a magic marker. I usually use, not a big magic marker, but because a lot of people, bass players in particular who play upright, keep them on the floor. Now, I've been using these, and in some ways because of my own limitations, if I'm going to be frank. I don't have Sibelius and all that. And I don't know, maybe someday I'll learn it. I mean, I'm still struggling to learn editing for these videos, so I'm desperately trying to keep up with times. But after a year or so, some of the musicians I played with called these gym charts, and they'd go, "Oh, good, it's gym charts," and which really tickled me. And a friend of mine who I really respect, who wrote out really like professional charts, converted to gym charts. And because pretty much a lot of the guys that I will play with who are so good and have a deep understanding will throw in things as the song progresses. It gives you that freedom where things aren't written specifically like, I've seen charts with, and maybe if you're with horns or whatever, I don't want to put that kind of chart down, but if you see E7, you might eventually, or whatever. It's supposed to go to F. I played A minor. So it kind of frees the musician up, and it'll also free us up to improvise, which ultimately I'm going to get into, okay? Now, I have a chord chart written, and it's basically like, I think, the whole 9 yards. I might edit it down to C6, as I discussed, use the gym chart, E7, F6, G7, down to A minor 7 third diagram, Okay, so we skip the passing chords. I have them in there just in case you wanted to learn them, but and I'd play this G7 here, and maybe F major 7 here. Yeah, it's too pretty. C6. Okay, it's just like F6, but here. Okay. So again, F6, G7, A minor 7, D7, C6, G7, back to the top. What do I have? Sorry. F6, got my singing so bad. G7, sorry. A minor 7 to D7. And here we're going to go G7, C6, C7, F6, D7, same one we had before. What do I have written? Yeah, just G7. Okay, then it's back to the last A. It's A1, A2, B, and then a final A. Completed a form. Now, I want you guys to work on that, and we'll do this in like 3 installments, I think, if that's okay. I hope you don't think, hey, I know all this. Give me something, Jim. I hope this was helpful, and just learn the chords and try and internalize where they happen. and we'll get into the chord melody, which is going to be easy because that's the other thing, is I try to come up with arrangements. If I'm going to play them out in the world, generally I try to make them easy because I'm going to forget them and I'll have to relearn them. Probably, I don't do these kind of songs like 4 times a week. I wish I did, but I'm always just relearning things. And how I do that is I have set lists going back to the year 2005, and the only reason they end at 2005 is because I had a computer crash and lost my set list from like 1994 and on. But if I have a gig like Park Avalon, that brunch gig, I go back to my old set list, and 9 times out of 10, I can remember a tune, or at least a major part of that tune, but I can't remember that I know that tune, okay? And the set lists really help. And it gives me a reference, or I'll go through and go, okay, I have to relearn this. Oh yeah, the bridge on take 5's hard. But it really helps me I write everything down and put them in folders. And one thing is set lists. And if I make the tune easy, let's say way easier than our version of In a Sentimental Mood, which I did a month ago or so, I'm proud of it, it's lovely, but I wouldn't generally come up with an arrangement that hard for that kind of gig. I call me unambitious, but I want to be able to play it. And if I'm with another group, they're gonna make me sound good, generally. And so will your friends and your fellow musicians. If they're chugging away at a chord, you could just play the melody. Okay, so this will be continued, the melody with a couple of chords and some soloing. So hang in there. I had one more question from Stefan, I would assume Ingalls. What are your contingency plans for broken strings during a performance or showing up and having your amp not work? Well, both those things. The last time I broke a string on stage, and I've call me superstitious, but I didn't want to answer this because I didn't want to hex myself, was about 25 years ago. During Harlem Nocturne, I can't remember, the place was in Mill Valley, nice club. And I broke a string, and I forget which one it was. It was like maybe my first string, like one I really missed. But I put on a new set of strings for every performance I do, and I did for that one, and somehow I broke a string. But I use Diodario, and evidently they make good stuff. But again, I change my strings every performance. If it's some high budget thing, which I generally don't do, I will bring a backup guitar, but generally not. Even when I toured with the Willies, I don't think I brought an extra guitar. Maybe one gig I did if we played like the Grand Ole Opry or something, but I just bring one guitar and put new strings on it, and I've been very lucky. As far as the amp thing goes, I think many New Yorkers have seen me play where my amp blew up. It was happening like every other week for a while. This is about 2 years ago, and it was really problematic, and I'd bring it in to get fixed, and then it would shut off, after 6-7 songs. And I had always gone to Pat at Main Drag Music before, and then kind of ventured off to somewhere else. And I went and brought it to Pat, and Pat was like, man, this amp is really messed up. And again, I don't want to hex myself, but it has worked perfectly for about 2 years. I mean, in some ways the last year doesn't count, but it just never cut out on me. And no, I don't bring an extra amp unless it's some big budget thing, which I generally don't do. If I play Detroit Institute of the Arts and they have a budget, I'll say, yeah, get a second amp. But generally, I just bring my Princeton and one guitar, and it has new strings on it. So I hope that answers that question. This ended up being a long video. I hope it wasn't boring, but to be continued. And thanks a lot for the questions. They're really, really helpful to me, and it's good to know what you guys want, and I hope this satisfied. Anyway, I guess that's it. Hang in there, and Happy New Year one more time, and thanks a lot for subscribing to Patreon. Have a good day.